Hi, everyone. Good. Wonderful. My name is Antonio Alanis, and I am an artist. And today I'll be presenting on my journey as an artist. So, this is me. I am excited to be here and want to thank your teacher as well for inviting me. Um, I am a visual artist, and I create a lot of things around a visual work. So, I primarily do anything around illustration through digitally, and then I also do murals and I do prints and I also do presentations in schools like today. Again, this is me doing a mural. A mural is a painting that I did, or any mural is a painting that artists can do on walls. I did this in a local school here in North Carolina, and I work with a school where I was able to meet with a lot of students almost your age, third, fourth, and fifth graders, where we made a mural. Like a little bit about myself, I am a Mexican American artist, grew up in Durham, and I will be again presenting on the things that make me and in today's presentation, I will be answering questions that you all submitted as well, including this one, early inspiration. So this is me in Mexico and my grandmother's garden with one of my cousins. So I'm the little boy with the dark blue shirt. And I like to start this presentation with this picture because you all asked me when did I want to become an artist. So the answer to that is I always wanted to be an artist. I always felt connected to the work that I have been doing and creating throughout my life. So there's not really a time that I didn't want to be an artist. I always wanted to be one. And as I was telling other students as well, as I really gather inspiration, meaning the things that I like to paint from my environment, where I come from, where I've been in the past, and where I was born as well, in the country of Mexico. What did I do as a kid? So, as a kid, I really enjoyed painting and getting my hands in paint. I always remember being connected to this medium being anything that you use to paint or draw or do art. And I always felt that it was natural to me. So it felt magical that I was able to do something out of nothing. So from a blank page to something that I would like to call my own. So from representing someone, being able to tell a story through the drawings that I was making, I felt like I was happy, and I felt that happiness has always been part of why I create as an artist. So, again, I always wanted to be an artist. The next part is first steps in art. I did many paintings and many projects like you all are doing right now in school, in elementary school. That was my first introduction to the arts. So, like many of you, I also went through elementary school and was exposed to doing a lot of clay and a lot of playing with watercolor and paint like that was part of my education as an artist. So I was always curious to use my hands to do things to feel that I was called to do. So that was my first introduction to art. And another thing too that I like to do when I was a kid is I like to create things that I used to watch on TV. So I would do a lot of fan art, meaning things that I like to watch. And I would do a lot of recreations or pretty much do copies of things that I would watch on TV. So any cartoons or anything like that. I remember the classic Mickey Mouse a thing, a concept. I would do a lot of those things in copies, and I would just like to do a lot of coloring books. I was always drawn to using color and grabbing color pencils and things. I remember those were most of the things that I would ask my parents to buy for me during the holidays and things like that. I would always make and have fun with friends as well. Paint. I would some people would ask me, "Hey, can you do some things for me? Can you do other things for this other person?" And I would always do work for them as well. When I was a painter or started to be a painter was around middle school when I really had my first introduction to acrylic paint. The paint that you see here is acrylic paint, but this is more for murals and walls for inside of places. But the acrylic paint that I used to do was mostly, or used to use when I was beginning, was mostly for canvases. So it would be a piece of fabric where I would paint on that. So these are my first steps to doing a painting. Now, artistic process. How do I do a painting? The painting is usually starting out with talking to people. So here you may be able to see a big wall inside a school. It's part of a mural that I did for a school here in North Carolina. And usually my process starts with talking to people. In this case, I talked to students, fourth and fifth graders, and the topic was, what things do you want to show in this mural about what does community mean to you? So community meant so many things to all the students, anything from friends to teachers to family members to neighbors to grandparents to other students and even the school. So that's how I started this process. I like to talk to people and get to learn what they want to show and portray in their environment, whether it's a mural or it's a print or anything like that, or even a commission when I work with clients. So people who buy my work, I also work with them and make sure that I understand what they want me to create for them. So that's a little bit of the process. Now, the technical, more on the art side, I start with a sketch, and a sketch is usually a foundation or a brief, quick drawing that I use to help me think about I want to where I want the painting to go. So this is a sketch that I did for the mural out of acrylic paint, and this is really just for me to make sure that I know what I'm doing. It doesn't have to be perfect. I don't embrace perfectionism. I embrace mistakes and make sure that I am able to feel free and learn as I go. Sometimes it's hard to have high standards, but sometimes it's good to remember that we're human and that we're okay to make mistakes. So this is one of the first examples that I like to share today on my process and how I come up with ideas. You asked me how I come up with ideas. I have a sketchbook. A sketchbook is essentially a book with blank pages. I'm not sure if you've been able to see one. And I draft. I draw something quick. I give myself about 10, 15 minutes every day, and I begin drawing. Again, making sure that I can do something for fun, and if I make a mistake, I can just erase. So that's a little bit about my artistic process. In terms of learning and growth, you can see a gallery exhibition here on the left. You can see some of the paintings that the group of artists that I belong to, called Inter-Latin American Artists Collective, were preparing for. These paintings were about 4 feet by 5 feet, and they were pretty big to hang on a wall. And you can see here the right. So learning and growth for me has been all about being an artist and learning as I go, but also learning from other people who have done this work before me. So I mentioned the Inter Latin American Artists Collective because they've been the ones that have been exhibiting far longer than I have, and they're able to let me know how to prepare, how to essentially work with galleries and things like that. And I feel that I'm able to learn also from the mistakes that I make and also from reading and learning that I do as well. I mentioned this because I did not go to school for art. I don't have I didn't go to college for art. I have I have an undergrad in Spanish because I wanted to learn more about my culture. And I ended up actually teaching as well, teaching Spanish for children around your age as well in high school and middle school. Again, I wanted to be more in tune with my culture, and there have been many ups and downs in this process, but I'm happy to have embraced them and continue to do the work that I do. One thing that you all did ask me is, do my paintings have any meaning? And yes, a lot of my paintings do have meaning. They talk about how cactus can be a strong plant, to talk about my community. So, as a Mexican American artist, I like to think about how as plants, as strong as plants are, our community is also a strong community with our color, with all of our culture, and a lot of our cultural heritage as well. I really like to focus on that part that normally we don't get to hear, or at least I don't get to hear as much in today's world. So, anytime that you see a painting, continue to ask yourself, what is the meaning? Challenges and triumphs. I talked a little bit about this before on the previous slide. Again, it's okay to make mistakes. Some of the students here have helped me in murals. They were also working with me. And it was the first time ever working in a mural that size. So sometimes they dripped some of the paint. Sometimes they drew or painted outside the coloring line and it was fine. I was able to work with them and just fix it. It was no big deal. I was able to put some more paint on top of that or just completely wipe it off. The beauty about acrylic paint is that you can wipe it off with a rag or something like that so that it doesn't uh, harden because once the paint hardens, it's hard to take it off, especially if it comes into your clothes or in your hair. It can be hard to remove later. So, again, with the beauty of acrylic, you can clear it off or wipe it off as soon as possible. That'll be my first thing. One thing you asked me as well is, do I ever have trouble coming up with ideas? And my answer to that would be no, I don't have trouble coming up with ideas. I was telling other students that I've been talking to in the past is that oftentimes I have so many ideas that it's hard to choose what project I want to work on. So I have to be very focused in terms of giving myself timelines for things that I want to create. Because I could be working on a mural and then on the side I could be thinking about doing an illustration or maybe doing another commission for other clients and people like that. So I have to remain very focused and don't not discard the things that I want to make. Still work on them on the side when there is time. And again, there are things that I will probably not ever get around to doing. But I think the beauty of being an artist is there will be always things to make and do. So inspiration and influence. I know your teacher has been introducing some Mexican artists, and I'd like to talk about them a little bit here. Uh, I have been very much influenced or inspired by my culture from Mexico. As someone who was born in Mexico and moved to the US when I was very young, I really love to incorporate artwork, references to, and things about other artists such as Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera. These are Mexican artists who lived a long time ago, and a lot of their themes really still make me connected to my country and my work as well. Here you can see some of my travels to Casa Azul in Mexico City, which is Frida Kahlo's house. And I was able to see a lot of her work and a lot of her paintings and even see her studio and see the paint that she would use when she was alive many years ago. And again, inspiration and influence is everywhere. Whenever I have the opportunity to travel, whether it's to do a conference or for work or even for something that I want to go and meet, meaning I want to explore a city, I make sure to always take a few hours to visit local museums and make sure that I understand that art is always everywhere. There will always be sculptures and a lot of paintings in museums. If you ever have a chance to go to museums, always find things that inspire you, that make you happy. I think that'll be my biggest thing. How do you find inspiration? And then we have some of my achievements and favorites. You all asked me what has been one of my biggest painting. So my biggest painting up to date has been this mural here that I did. It's a two-part mural. One in a school, and I did this in a hallway. So think about a hallway that spans from a, I think it would fit about 100 people or so, just to give you an idea, comfortably. And again, it was my first mural this size. I have worked with other artists to make their murals, and I have helped them paint on the side as well. But this was my first mural that I did for another person. And again, this would be my biggest painting as well. So, personal insights. This is the almost end of the presentation. Eh, I really love doing or using very bright colors, such as the one that you see here, very bright pink. I think that as the Mexican culture, we bring a lot of color through our work to the world, and I think the color has the ability to lighting, brighten up a space and make them more comfortable. So I think for me, my work has been about creating a space where I feel comfortable and where other people can also feel comfortable. And not only being comfortable, I think being happy, it's another opportunity for us as artists. We can bring happiness through the work that we do, whether it's through listening to a song that you like, or watching a movie that you enjoy, or reading a book that you like as well. I think that that's the power of art, that we can influence or impact emotions. And then you all asked me as well, why do I have so many cactus and skulls? I already explained why I have a cactus and the work, and I've seen some work already by students. I already explained that, but skulls are a reference to upcoming Day of the Dead, which would be November 1st and November 2nd. November 1st and 2nd are to honor loved ones who have passed away, who have left us, and who have gone on. And it's a way for many cultures throughout Latin America to honor our loved ones and once they passed on. And I think it's a beautiful way to keep remembering opportunity, community, and loved ones who have passed on. Engaging with others. I am Spanish speaker, so I do speak Spanish and English. And I enjoy talking with people who want to learn more about my culture and invite me to classes, such as your teacher. Thank you so much for her for inviting me to be part of this opportunity. And also, I think you asked me to translate, how do I say art teacher in Spanish? So that would be maestro or maestra de español. Perdón, de arte. Maestra o maestro de arte. For Spanish teacher would be maestro o maestra de español. And again, my biggest thing today is do make art. You don't have to be an artist. Anyone can make art. I think that's the beauty of it. I think that people sometimes are afraid to go into the art because of so many things that we hear. But the thing about it is to approach art with an open mind, that art can be such a powerful force. And with that is the end of my presentation.